Welcome back to another special Viking Warrior Day edition of It Takes a Viking, the official podcast of the Salem State University alumni and friends community. Very excited to have with us two stalwart coaches from our athletic department. Our first repeat guest on the podcast, Athletic Director Nicolle Wood, Compliance Coordinator and Head Men's Soccer Coach, and also Matt Correia, and also Nicolle is our Head Women's Soccer Coach as well. So thank you both for joining us. Glad to have you with us.
Good. Excited to be back. Excited to have that honor of the first repeat guest.
You know, I couldn't think of anybody else.
Yes, thanks for having us.
Sure. So obviously Viking Warrior Day, we're going to get into a little bit about kind of the meaning and the great work that our donors do for the support of the athletic department in just a little bit. But for those that are watching at home who may not know you, let's just take a brief moment, introduce yourself, kind of how long you've been in your respective roles here at the institution, and kind of what brought you to Salem State. Nikki, maybe we'll start with you first.
Sure. So I'm an alum. I graduated in '95, women's soccer alumni, sports movement science major. I've been at Salem State, actually. I was the assistant coach for 10 years while I was working full-time elsewhere. And I've been the head women's soccer coach. I think I'm going on my 18th year. Started in life skills programming when I first became the head women's soccer coach. And then just through the, unbelievable mentorship I got from Tim Shea and others, the lessons I learned from John Galaris, like all of it just made me really lean into the administrative side, which when I first started, I don't think I understood the reach that I could have. I think I was really focused on the soccer aspect of it and coaching. And I've been very lucky through my career that my responsibilities have progressed. And I've gone from, an NCAA internship level staff member to an assistant athletic director, an associate, two-time interim athletic director, and I've been the AD. I think I'm going on my third or fourth year now. It flies. So yeah, Viking at heart, very proud to be here. I can't imagine being the AD or the women's soccer coach anywhere else. So
and shameless plug, your son is also a Salem State Viking now as well.
My son he is a Viking. It was his choice. We didn't even help him with the application process. Very lucky that he plays for Coach Correia, which, that will show where our family loyalties are when Viking Warrior Day happens, see where people donate. But yeah, very, very proud that he's a Viking. And my little guy who's 11 has made it clear already that I am not allowed to even consider retiring until he gets a chance to be a Viking as well.
Excellent. So he's a smart guy. And that serves as a very nice segue. Coach Correia, if you don't mind introducing yourself to our folks watching at home.
Yeah, I'm Coach Matt Correia. I'm the compliance coordinator here, and also the head men's soccer coach. I didn't know that I was recruiting your younger son now too, but I guess we are.
It's never too early.
No,
too early.
I am not a Salem State alum, but I am a state school alum. Graduated UMass Dartmouth 2010. Started coaching at a small school in New Hampshire for about 6 years. Came here in 2017, the fall of 2017. Part-time first, was just coaching soccer here. We had some success that year, which was really fun. And then I was offered an opportunity to take on more of an administrative role here as the compliance coordinator that spring of 2018, which I accepted, and I've been full-time since then, sort of handling both duties. And it's been amazing. I mean, I can't believe, now I'm sitting here thinking, geez, it's been 6 years since I've been full-time here now. But it's been awesome. We've had some great seasons here, some great success here, and I love it.
So let's dive into that a little bit, because again, we had the opportunity to talk with Nikki already once in a previous episode, but I want to get into kind of the day in the life of the athletic director too. But for those who may not know what a compliance coordinator is, kind of take me through a day in the office for you. What are you working on?
Yeah, just ensuring the eligibility of all of our student athletes, really being ready to drop anything if something needs to be done. There are times where a student athlete might walk into my office and say, hey, am I able to play next year? What standards do I need to reach in order to get there? Making sure our coaches are aware of, student athletes that, might be on the brink of losing eligibility, or, helping with the transfer portal, which is a kind of a new world that we're sort of all figuring out between myself and the coaches and the players. That's taken a significant role of my time, and just kind of maintaining rosters. Up and down rosters are, times where we bring people on, we lose people along the way. So it's a lot of that every day.
And so you mentioned standards that our student athletes have to uphold. Is that, GPA standard, credit load that they have to carry kind of standards?
Both, yeah, both actually. So they have to reach a certain standard of both credits earned throughout the year, and a certain GPA that they have to maintain throughout the year. So we just got to make it clear to the student athletes. We meet with every single team prior to their season to go over everything that they need to know. But obviously there are times where they forget this, so I have to make sure I'm just ready and available to assist in those questions that they might have.
And now at the kind of more macro level in the department, Nikki, understanding that the last several years have posed some new and different challenges for a lot of our student athletes, can you talk a little bit about not only the compliance world that you oversee, but some of the other areas within athletics that are under your purview as well?
Yeah, I think I also want to give probably more credit to Matt than he's comfortable with. When he says he's had some success, when he took on the team as a part-time coach, they had won 0 conference games the year prior, and Matt won undefeated. They went undefeated that year and won the championship. And I was able to help his position transition into full time. And he's one of my first hires. I think he might be my first hire. So, for me, it's been really rewarding to see him succeed and take on the role. I would also say even just compliance, if there's one major change in the NCAA over the last 10 years, it's in compliance. The role changes with, the name, image, likeness that is in D3. I don't think that, we dip our toe too far into that pool, but it's an issue. Social media, changes in recruiting, changes in when official visits can happen, the transfer portal, like there's a lot that goes. And now we also have the governors, the NCAA Board of Governors sexual violence attestation that every student athlete, so for us 250 to 260 kids, Matt has to make sure that gets done before they even, train with the team. So I think there's a lot that goes into his role as well. Aside from also recruiting, maintaining, and being really successful on the field. In terms of overall, yeah, I mean, since COVID, but even before that, we had seen that there was a trend in terms of mental health struggles that student athletes were having. A lot of people associate it with COVID and the isolation, but it started earlier than that. We were 5 years ahead of the curve for most other universities, which I'm really, really proud of. Again, when Tim was here, he allowed me to go to any educational session I could on mental health and bring back programming, and I spent those early years in my career doing that. But I think it's also a credit to our student athletes because those are difficult conversations to have. And they were having them, back in 2000, 2001, like really early on. So that part of the support has changed. I think also that our coaches need more support. I do think that there's a generational change between, the way that I was coached, although I still have my own coach, Coach Sheriff, as a role model for how I treat my players. But, a lot of the language and the attitudes about coaching and toughness and resilience, our coaches have had to relearn what that means, because no matter what we know or think we know, it's about what we can get our student athletes to achieve. And I think we've been lucky. What I've seen in some of our coaches, especially our newer ones, is they embrace that. They know we have to meet them where they're at. It's no longer they just aren't as tough as we used to be. It doesn't work, So I think that part of it, the growth and investment in our coaches' education too, whether it's the mental health programming we do, or, Scott Braid and his staff in sports medicine that program has gone from athletic training, taping them up, get them back on the field as quickly as possible, to a completely comprehensive, holistic sports medicine program. And I think that, again, I really think that we're a best practice model for a lot of schools, whether they have our budget or not. It's about the people and the investment they're making in the right things.
And one of the things that I love the most about this department, as someone who worked in the professional world before coming back to Salem to work here, is that you see teams throughout the 4 major sports leagues doing their Pride Nights, doing their Pink in the Rink and Think Pink Nights, and all the other different awareness programs that they have. And I remember those kind of from the day that I stepped foot back on campus before they were a thing, so to speak, like you just said. And, we're looking over our shoulder and we have our mental health sweatshirt. We've bogarted Coach Chris Harvey's office for this interview as well, so just so everyone's aware. But you have a member of the counseling and health services staff that's here in the office for student athletes. What was when did that idea pop into mind and say, this is something I think we need to provide?
So, I think again that when I was going to the NCAA convention early in my career, I still do it. I'm a nerd. I accept that, but I go to every educational session that I can, because I think even if it's at a D1 university, what we find is our budgets may be different, but the students' need is the same. You know, a lot of the problems that they're dealing with, our kids are dealing with, and we need to find support for them. I also think that we can't expect our students to compete on the field and manage their academics and excel in the classroom if we're not serving all of their needs and supporting them. You know, them showing up to the field and seeming off or seeming low energy, us yelling at them to fix that is not the response that works anymore. So I think that being proactive is what we recognize. And also, again, to see them be a better version of themselves. Like if they're homesick, we have to figure it out. If they're struggling, if they're not sleeping well, if they need a change in where they live in the residence halls because you know that it's not a good fit for them in terms of their needs of sleep and things like that, we need to help them with that stuff.
And I have to imagine there's a direct correlation to all that and the work that you're doing, is that if a student is having a tough go of it, whether it's at home, in the personal life, or whatever, that there's going to be some kind of residual effect in their academic performance that would probably make your day a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, those definitely play big factors. And I think that's why, as coaches, we try to just be here for them. I think even right before this interview started, you saw, one of my players coming in, and that was really just to talk, which, happens throughout the day with all these coaches. And, these things that we've done, pride games and mental health games, that's Nikki and Scott Braid. I mean, they've done a great job of making that happen and, making, just being aware and providing that for our student athletes. So it's been really special.
I guess I'd want to add, and thank you for that. I want to add just two quick things. Number one, in terms of these events, and as you remember them, as I remember them, right? When I first started, we were very intentional that we were never going to be a department that checked the box. So even with our Think Pink events, which was the first major initiative, and then we started our Special Olympics partnership. But with Think Pink, we made it clear right away, you are not going to just wear pink shirts. You need to have messaging. You need to have some element of raising awareness or fundraising. So back then we used to give the proceeds went right to North Shore Medical when we were doing them in large scale. And I think that just speaks to all the programming we do. Even when we started the Champs Life Skills program, we started with a needs analysis. We talked to the students. What do you need? I think for years prior, everyone just had a speaker come in and tell them not to drink, tell them the dangers of alcohol. And what I found in those early years of doing the programming was if you give them a product and you give them something that they know is going to help them and they leave with a tool set rather than being told what not to do, they're going to buy into all the programming. And that's why we're here. That's how we've grown to the point that we've grown. I think the second part is, again, this is why I love Salem State. We didn't have a budget when I started our life skills program, 17 years ago, but we had people like Chris Sullivan. We had, Elisa, and we had Becky, and we had Bruce, and we had people that would, be willing partners to collaborate, to understand the importance that athletics has in terms of someone's development. And they were just great partners. All of the programming we've done in those early years before we were able to raise funds for it was based on collaboration and people at the university that were really willing partners. And I think that if there was one thing I did well early on, it was find the right people to partner with. And I'm really grateful for that.
And that serves as a great opportunity, because I had mentioned to Coach Harvey once before, I would contend that outside of academic programs, the student athlete represents probably the single largest cohort of students on this campus. I think you'd be hard pressed to find a group or club that's got 250 active members, an academic interest group that's got 250 members. And so understanding that and understanding that on top of working a couple jobs and maintaining a full course load and playing their sport, there's likely some different and additional challenges that come with being a student athlete. And as I remember and think back to the fall of 2022 when we opened the new alumni field, that was really kind of the launch of the Vikings Excel program as well. And so something that the department has started. And can you kind of talk a little bit about the history of it, why you decided to go down that road, and why is it important for our student athletes?
Yeah, so I mean, I can remember the moment we were coming out of COVID. I remember being up at the lake. It was, we were in the summer, and just writing about it and writing about my own goals and kind of the mindset and I think I was transitioning from interim AD to AD. And at the time, Carla was here as our dean, and she had empowered me and said, you have a vision. Tell me what your vision is. And one of the things that I've always held is very important in my role, both as a coach and a mentor, and in this role as AD, is there is a mindset, or there's been a mindset, that you have to choose between being really, really successful in athletics, maybe not a great student, maybe have a coach who can get you to win and get you motivated, but doesn't really, take care of you as a human. Or you can have a student who's really good at academics and a coach who is really nice to you, but you're not going to win a lot. And I think that one of the things that, especially in a D3 institution where it's about balance, we needed to get away from that narrative and focus more on chasing excellence in more than just one area. So Vikings Excel is really about pursuing excellence in academics, in obviously competition, and then in leadership. So the community service, the mentoring, SAC, the programming we're doing around mental health, all of those leadership initiatives is part of it as well. But yeah, we need support to do it. It's stuff that isn't in our budget. I don't know that any university really has that built in that's a D3. But for us, again, it's supporting the student athletes. It's really just helping them excel in all three areas and telling our coaches, you don't have to choose. Please don't settle for just one thing. Let's bring in the kind of students that want to chase all three. And I think that's really the level of excellence that we're looking for.
And I think as a proud husband of a two-sport athlete here at this institution,
A Hall
many
of
years
Famer
ago,
as well.
Hall of Famer. I'd be remiss
Shout
if I
out.
didn't mention that. Volleyball and basketball, Mrs. Mitchell. I think the resiliency of this department as a whole. I mean, my wife remembers very fondly when Coach Shea came to her living room and pitched her entire family, which, if you've never pitched an entire family of 11 people, it's a hard act to follow, or a hard act to achieve. But even to this day, Tim stays in touch with her over the years, and Chris Sullivan does as well. And so I think that's one of the things that I love the most about this department, is that whether you're newer to campus the last 6 or 7 years, there's this strong affinity to the department itself. And I think that resiliency, especially lately, it feels like the last several years, the department has faced some kind of catastrophic challenge in one way or another over the years, whether it was, losing Carl Hens earlier this year, or Sam Chaffee at the end of last year. You've always tried to find kind of the silver lining in the tragedies here. And as we think about somebody like Sam, whose family has really rallied around, his challenges with mental health that he had, and has supported the department in that way, I'd be remiss, obviously, if we didn't acknowledge again that this is Viking Warrior Day, our single largest day of giving, and having you two at the table was very important, because when our office puts the call out for campus community partners, you two have really picked up the torch and run with it. And specifically, Matt, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that Coach Correia has successfully been the leader and support for his team and program the last 2 years in a row. And so I just wonder, Matt, is it just like a friendly in-house kind of thing, or is it just, do you find that that's your special time of year where you love to get excited for your program? What is it about Viking Warrior Day that gets you so fired up each year?
Well, it's a great opportunity to connect with alumni. I look at that as a great opportunity to just connect and reach out and kind of see how people are doing, and at the same time asking for their support. So and it's more than just alumni, it's friends, it's family, it's a lot of people that support our program that want to feel like they are doing something to help. And I think it's a great opportunity to say, hey, you always are asking me what things can I do to help the program succeed. It's one of them, and it's a great day. And leadership in this department has been awesome. So it goes top down, and it's just, we're a competitive group. We're a fun group, but it gets really, really competitive. And last year was just, how it ended was just a lot of fun.
So I think last year men's soccer received somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 participant supporters. I know you have a goal for yourself this year.
Yeah, we finished with 80 donors last year. We're hoping to reach 100 donors this year. I think we raised somewhere around 5,000, so we're shooting for 7,000 this year. But we'll see.
Men's soccer, we're looking at you. We're talking to you. But I know, obviously that I think the nature of an athlete in general is to be competitive, and so I wonder, Nikki, is the sort of the next team up right after men's soccer, you gotta You think you're going to go for the top spot this year?
I mean, we're always going to want the top spot, right? And I think that last year it was fun because I think both Matt and I, we were tracking and we were close, and they were like, he would get 5 and we'd get 7 and he'd get 10. And it went to midnight. I mean, we were sharing on social media. I was texting all of our alums that I knew. Our team was doing it. You know, they were out there telling their family members, look, we got to catch them. And I think it again just shows that our student athletes, they're just such a special group, whether it's, you know, the stuff that you spoke of before, they've been through so much, and it's been a lot of loss. And there are athletic departments that go through losing an athlete. We have suffered the loss of 3 and 5 years, and that is just unheard of. And it's a lot for these kids to bear. But man, when we get to do stuff like this for them, it's just so rewarding, because I think that one of the core principles that I know that I have is gratitude. And this is a grateful group of human beings that we get to work with. I mean, they appreciate the effort. The families are amazing. I think that, yeah, like we're naturally competitive. Matt is right. And I think for our program, especially, you know, I played on a program that I was surrounded by All-Americans and Hall of Famers, and a team that was, you know, my sophomore year, I think we ended up 4th in the country, and we were really, really good. And when I first started coaching, especially as head coach, I think my intention was we got to get back there. But what I've realized over the past few years, even in 2019, when we hosted the semifinal and we're the 2 seed, is we got there in other ways that matter. And I still want to chase the title. You know, I might be coaching until I'm 70 if I don't get that title soon. But I also think it's about the people that we bring in and the way they've learned how to show up for each other. And it's across all sports. We had a panel on Saturday at Accepted Students Day, and it was a couple of volleyball players, a men's soccer player, and a men's ice hockey player. They spoke to a room packed with people, both families and the students, and just were such it was just an amazing moment for me to watch them answer questions with this sense of pride about how important it is not to be on their team, but to be a Viking, to be part of this community. And I know that they appreciate everything, including what your office has done. I mean, for us to be able to partner for Viking Warrior Day, it wasn't being done before, you know. And then when you and Taylor and Lori and Brenna, when the group came to us and said, let's find a way to make it more engaging. I mean, I know that we're grateful for it. And now, as any new initiative, it's just become what we do. It's become something our coaches can count on. It's been something that our kids get excited about. So yeah, like I said, the Wood family, we will have a test of allegiance coming up. I mean, I already know where it's going to end up, because I've been coaching for over 20 years here when I was an assistant coach, and my husband has never once bought a women's soccer. But when the men's soccer store went out during preseason, suddenly the whole family's outfitted in men's soccer gear. So
looking at you, Pat.
yeah, I have a feeling I know how that's going to work out. But yeah, we're still excited. I think the most important thing we do every day is give an experience that kids look back on fondly, and they want to support the next kid in line. And that's really what we're supposed to be doing, right? We're supposed to be going through this journey, figuring out who we are, and then making it easier for the ones that come after us. And to me, that's what this is about.
And that's, I don't think I could end it any better. I mean, you know, as in the work that we do, you kind of talk about a drop in the proverbial ocean of support that student athletes can get at other institutions. And while we work for that every day to make that a possibility here, we're not quite there yet, obviously. And so identifying that days like Viking Warrior Day, the individual impact of giving on certain departments that are important to our alumni and friends, you see a measurable, tangible impact. You guys see it in the athletes that you coach every day, and what a hoodie or a meal or a spring training trip, and you know, things like the crowdfunding programs that we offer, they provide these tangible, immediate benefits to students that need them. And so as we continue through the day on Viking Warrior Day, we're going to link on this post to how you can support the athletic department as well. If you're a men's soccer fan, support men's soccer. If you're a women's soccer fan, support women's soccer. But before we let you go, Nicolle Wood, athletic director, head women's soccer coach, Matt Correia, compliance coordinator, head men's soccer coach. Any final thoughts?
I would want to point out one fun fact. Matt and I are both actually natives of Dracut. I know that you guys are Merrimack Valley people, but I'm not in Dracut anymore, but we're both from Dracut. I just think that I really think that if our student athletes could tell their story and people really looked into the amazing work, and even the Trophy family you brought up, we had our mental health matters dedication games this week, and Sam was here for a semester, and the family, despite his loss, the family really felt like Salem State was the place that he became the best version of himself. Heartbreakingly brief, but the impact that he had and the family felt we had on him is why the trophy fund exists, and it's making it better for student athletes. It's supporting all of our mental health program, all of the team from counseling and health services. Like you said, they're here once a week in person, but more importantly, it's again giving back to the student athletes to make it a little bit easier for them than it was maybe for Sam. So in terms of money, I agree. We always want more money. Talking to you, Mr. Wood. But also it's our kids see support differently. They see it as showing up. They know who you are. They know who President Keenan is. They know who Nate is. They know who Sean is. They know Liz. They know all of the people that are important to their journey. They know them because they show up. And I think that this is a day where we need people to show up. It's a little bit different, but if they can show up and support our teams, I just think that the impact will continue, and our student athletes are really grateful, and it's a story worth seeing for sure.
Couldn't agree more. Coach, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I would say it's become such a big day on the calendar for us. And Nikki had added that we want to make sure they have a great experience here. And that's really the one thing I tell my players all the time is I hope that when you leave here, you look back and say, man, that was awesome. What a great experience that was. And, Nikki had her banquet last week. I've been kind of running around this week. We have our banquet tomorrow night. Our guys are all excited about it. We have some gifts that we can provide to the seniors. And it's just a great night. And this type of funding is really what helps us to be able to put on those type of events. I've had donors and alumni ask, what does this money go to? And it goes to a variety of things, but that's just an example of one of the special nights that we have for our men's soccer team that really we wouldn't be able to host if we didn't have the support that we receive on Viking Warrior Day. So just a thank you to everyone that supports us, and we hope that you continue to support us.
So I'm sorry, Mike, I feel a little bit like the end of Bridesmaids where they're grabbing the mic from each other, but you just made me think of something in terms of impact. The money raised, especially whether it's through the Trophy Fund or the General Athletics Fund, it supports our student athletes. It does not buy them uniforms. We do not use fundraising. We don't have our coaches fundraise to have a season, to have those, just necessary parts. This is really about the support. So in addition to mental health, there are so many trends among student athletes that we need to support them. And one is there's a lot of anxiety about food. There's food insecurity. Whether you have a meal plan or not, they're running around at hours that they may not be able to get it. So we just purchased a refueling station, a refrigeration, unit that will keep food in, so that student athletes will be able to come and tap in and get the food they need without having to ask for it, without any, stigma attached to feeling like they're taking and the programming we do with sports medicine, the sports psychology, the counseling. That's where this money goes. And yes, for our individual programs, we love to give the seniors gifts. We do clinics. We do so many different things to raise funds for that stuff as well, though. This day is about the value added. We are not, I just want to make it clear to our donors, we're not using fundraising money for them to come compete for the university. We provide that. This is about the value added stuff, because I do think in D3, these kids do a lot of what the D1s do, but they do it without the support, without the coach standing over them. And by the way, a lot of that is good because they're building that resilience and life skills, right? But that's what we're talking about, is just that extra support that's going to make the experience better. And yes, a better, happier, more well-rounded student athlete is also going to compete for championships on the field. And, that pride is important to us as well.
Carrying on that long legacy of prestige and success and winning here at Salem State. Coach Wood, Coach Correia, I want to thank you both for your time. I know the end of the year is always a busy time of year for you. I'd be lying if I said right before our conversation today, Matt didn't grab his agenda for his team banquet and say, look, Viking Warrior Day is right at the bottom of it. So want to thank you both for your incredible work on Viking Warrior Day over the last several years. Can't thank you both enough. And just stay tuned for more great content throughout the day. This has been another terrific episode of It Takes a Viking, special Viking Warrior Day edition, the official podcast of the Salem State University Alumni and Friends community.